What happens when the diligent class president is forced to tutor the school's notorious troublemaker? Sparks fly, hearts are changed, and an unexpected love blossoms. Watch as opposites collide in a heartwarming journey of laughter, growth, and romance that begins in high school and ends in a lifetime of love. Are you ready for their story? Chapter 1. The President and the Rebel. It all started on a Monday morning when Han Yura, the top student and class president of Seoul High School, was summoned by the school counselor. Yura had always been known for her diligence, perfect scores, impeccable attendance, and an unblemished reputation. She loved being reliable, efficient, and admired by her teachers. "Yura, I need your help," the counselor said, her tone serious. "Of course. What can I do for you?" Yura responded, eager to assist. "We're worried about a student, Kim Jisoo. He's been skipping classes, getting into fights, and his grades are in free fall. I've assigned him to you for tutoring." Yura's heart sank. Kim Jisoo was notorious in the school for being the resident troublemaker, arrogant, defiant, and a general pain in the neck for most of the teachers. He was the polar opposite of Yura, and the thought of spending time with him made her uncomfortable. However, Yura's sense of responsibility outweighed her reservations, so she agreed. Chapter 2. First Impressions. Later that afternoon, Yura waited at the library, tapping her fingers nervously on the table. Kim Jisoo was, unsurprisingly, late. As she was about to give up, she heard heavy footsteps approaching. Jisoo swaggered in, headphones hanging around his neck, his school uniform untucked and messy. "Hey," he mumbled, sliding into the seat opposite her without even a glance. He immediately pulled out his phone, ignoring Yura entirely. Yura frowned. This was going to be harder than she thought. "Kim Jisoo, put your phone away. We're here to study," Yura said firmly, trying to assert some authority. Jisoo snorted. "And who made you my boss, class president? I am your tutor, and I take my responsibilities seriously. If you don't, well, you might just end up repeating a grade," she replied, trying to keep her voice calm. That seemed to catch his attention. He reluctantly pocketed his phone and opened his books, though his expression was one of boredom. For the next hour, Yura tried to explain math problems, but Jisoo barely paid attention. He doodled in his notebook, sighed loudly, and shot sarcastic remarks whenever he could. By the end of the session, Yura was frustrated beyond belief. "That was a waste of time," she muttered as Jisoo packed up his things. Jisoo smirked, clearly pleased with himself. "I agree, President. See you tomorrow." Chapter 3. Slowly unveiling. Despite the rocky start, Yura didn't give up. Each day, she met with Jisoo, and although he maintained his snarky attitude, there were moments, brief flashes, where Yura noticed something else behind his cocky facade. She caught him staring out the window with a distant look in his eyes, his rough exterior melting away for just a second before he put his mask back on. One day, after another unsuccessful tutoring session, Yura mustered the courage to ask him something that had been bothering her. "Why do you act like this? You're obviously smart, Jisoo. You just don't try." Jisoo leaned back in his chair and grinned lazily. "Why should I try? No one cares about what I do." "I care," Yura replied quietly. For the first time, Jisoo seemed caught off guard. His smirk faltered, and he looked at her, really looked at her. "Why?" he asked, his voice softer, almost vulnerable. "Because everyone deserves a chance," Yura said, holding his gaze. "I think you're capable of more than you show. But that's up to you." Jisoo didn't respond, but something shifted between them that day. He started showing up on time for their tutoring sessions, and although he didn't transform into a model student overnight, he began to put in some effort. Chapter 4. Bonding over books. As the weeks went by, Yura found herself looking forward to her tutoring sessions with Jisoo. They began to talk beyond schoolwork. Yura discovered that Jisoo had a passion for art, something he kept hidden because his parents disapproved. In return, Jisoo teased Yura about her perfectionism, calling her a robot who needed to loosen up. "Life isn't about grades, you know," Jisoo said one day, sketching absent-mindedly in his notebook while Yura went over a history lesson. Yura raised an eyebrow. "Says the guy failing half his classes." "Exactly," Jisoo grinned. "But I'm good at living." Yura couldn't help but laugh. It was strange. Before she started tutoring him, she had viewed Jisoo as a nuisance, a burden. But now, she saw a side of him that was thoughtful, funny, and kind, hidden beneath his tough exterior. One evening, after a particularly long study session, they found themselves talking about their dreams. Yura admitted that she felt pressured to always be perfect because of her family's high expectations. "You don't have to be perfect, Yura," Jisoo said, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "You just have to be yourself." Yura was taken aback. She had never thought of it that way. Jisoo, who had always seemed so careless, was the first person to tell her that being flawless wasn't necessary. Chapter 5. An Unexpected Confession. As time passed, Yura began to notice that her feelings for Jisoo had shifted. She no longer saw him as just a tutoring obligation. She liked spending time with him. His smile, his teasing, the way he quietly encouraged her to be herself. It all made her heart race in a way she hadn't expected. One day, as they sat in the library, Jisoo closed his book abruptly and looked at Yura with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Yura, I need to tell you something," he said, his voice unusually serious. "What is it?" she asked, her heart pounding. "I like you," Jisoo said simply. "I think I've liked you for a while now." Yura felt her face heat up, her pulse quickening. "Jisoo, Wait, let me finish," Jisoo interrupted, leaning forward. "I know I'm not the kind of guy someone like you would go for. I'm not good at this school stuff, and I get into trouble a lot. But when I'm with you, I feel like I want to be better. For you." Yura stared at him, her mind reeling. She had always been the one to have everything under control, but in this moment, she felt completely unprepared. I like you too," she whispered, surprising herself. Jisoo's eyes widened in disbelief. "You do?" Yura nodded, her cheeks burning. "You're different from how I thought you were. And I want to know you more." Chapter 6. A New Beginning. After their confession, things changed between Yura and Jisoo. They still had their tutoring sessions, but now there were more stolen glances, more laughter, and sometimes Jisoo would walk her home after school. The rumors at school spread quickly. People couldn't believe that the class president and the troublemaker were spending so much time together. But Yura didn't care. For the first time, she felt free from the expectations that had weighed her down for so long. One evening, as they walked home together, Jisoo stopped and pulled out a small sketchbook from his bag. "I drew something for you," he said, his voice nervous for the first time. Yura blinked in surprise. "For me?" He nodded and handed her the sketchbook. Inside was a beautiful drawing of a girl standing under a tree, her face illuminated by sunlight. It was unmistakably Yura. "You're the first person who ever believed in me," Jisoo said softly. "I wanted to draw you the way I see you." Yura's heart swelled, tears pricking her eyes. She had never felt more understood, more seen. "Thank you, Jisoo," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Chapter 7. Growing Together. As time passed, Yura and Jisoo grew closer, their bond deepening with each passing day. Jisoo's grades improved, and though he still maintained his rebellious streak, he found a balance between his art and his studies. Yura, on the other hand, learned to let go of her need for perfection, embracing the moments that truly mattered. Their relationship blossomed through high school, and when graduation day finally arrived, Jisoo surprised Yura with a heartfelt speech during the ceremony. "I used to think I didn't belong here," Jisoo said, standing in front of the entire class. "But someone showed me that everyone deserves a chance. Yura, you believed in me when no one else did. You changed my life." Yura blushed, tears welling up in her eyes as the crowd erupted in applause. Chapter 8. A Love That Lasts. After high school, Yura pursued her studies in university, and Jisoo followed his dream of becoming a professional artist. Though their paths were different, they never wavered in their love for each other. They continued to support and encourage one another, growing not just as individuals, but as a couple. Years later, on a beautiful spring day, Jisoo proposed to Yura under the very tree where they had shared so many memories during high school. "I knew from the moment you told me to put away my phone," Jisoo said with a grin, "that you were the one for me." Yura laughed, her heart full as she said yes. Their wedding was a simple, intimate affair, surrounded by close friends and family. As they exchanged vows, Yura looked at the man who had once been the school's troublemaker, now standing beside her as her partner in life. From the moment you said you cared, Jisoo whispered, I knew I would love you forever. And so, the class president and the rebel began their new journey together, their love story a testament to the power of believing in one another and the beauty of growing together. And that's how a love story that began with misunderstandings and tutoring sessions turned into a lifelong journey of happiness. From high school study sessions to vows beneath cherry blossoms, Yura and Jisoo showed us that love can bloom in the most unexpected places. If you enjoyed this heartwarming tale, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Dreamy Novels, where every story takes you on a romantic adventure full of dreams and emotions. Stay tuned for more unforgettable love stories, where happy endings are just the beginning.